Hey guys, this is Matt Brunet, and welcome to Movie News Weekly, hosted by FilmBook. Now, before we begin, let's take a look at what we got in this week's news, which includes The Game is on Top, The $1 Billion Jedi, John's solo work, America is getting more Yuasa, Beyond releasing soon, more fantasy cops coming, another big delay, Welcome to the Money, Ridley's possible magic trick, and no journey ahead. So with that said, let's get things started. It took a little while, but the movie finally made it to the top. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle finally made it to the top of the box office after 3 weeks since its release before Christmas with $36 million. This even beats out the latest movie's release, which includes the fourth installment of the Insidious franchise, The Last Key, where it started in second with more than $29 million. However, even if it's not at number 1, it's already a major success for both Universal and Blumhouse since it already made almost 3 times its budget. Meanwhile, Star Wars The Last Jedi finally had to step down to make room for the new big movies to come out, where it rests in third place with about $23.5 million, with The Great Showman and Pitch Perfect 3 still behind, staying in the 8-digit area with almost $14 million and more than $10 million respectively. Following from behind includes Ferdinand with almost $8 million, Molly's Game with $7 million, and Darkest Hour with more than $6 million. What a great way to start off 2018! On New Year's Eve weekend, Star Wars The Last Jedi has officially crossed the $1 billion mark at the worldwide box office. At the same time, it had also officially beaten the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast to become the highest-grossing film of 2017 at the domestic box office, where it now makes $572.5 million. This would also put it as the 6th highest-grossing film of all time domestically, behind The Avengers, Jurassic World, Titanic, Avatar, and Star Wars The Force Awakens. In terms of the year's worldwide box office standings, the film surpassed Despicable Me 3 and is sitting in third place with $1.2 billion. It is expected that it could even beat The Fate of the Furious and the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast, where they both have an average total of $11.25 billion. It could have time to catch up though, as The Last Jedi is currently just on its 4th weekend. Han's bringing out the big guns here. In an interview with Variety, legendary composer John Williams revealed that he will be writing the theme of the upcoming Star Wars spin-off film, Solo: A Star Wars Story. However, the score of the film will be done by John Powell. Williams commented about his involvement in the film by saying, "What I will do is offer this to John and to director Ron Howard, and if all parties are happy with it, then I will be happy. John Powell will complete the score. He will write all the rest of the themes and all the other material, which I'm going to be very anxious to hear." Williams' work on the franchise is beloved by millions as the official music of Star Wars, where he did the score of all 8 of the official movies and won an Oscar for Episode 4, while also getting 3 additional nominations for it. The only ones he did not do was the animated Star Wars: The Clone Wars in 2008 and 2016's Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, which was done by Michael Giacchino. Solo is ready to hit theaters on May 25th. If these guys think it's good enough to have it, then it means it's great. GKids, the independent film distributor, had gotten the rights for a series of animated features that have been directed by Masaaki Yuasa. The movies include Mind Game, Night is Short, Walk on Girl, and his most recent work, Lou Over the Wall, which was the winner of the grand prize at last year's Annecy International Animation Film Festival. GKids is planning to release an English dub of the feature at this year's Sundance Film Festival, but with no confirmation regarding who would be in the cast. The most recent film that the distributor released, The Breadwinner by Cartoon Saloon, is considered a major animation award contender, and it currently has a Golden Globe nomination. GKids will also soon be releasing Mary and the Witch's Flower, the latest feature by Studio Ghibli director Hiromasa Yonebayashi, for a one-day screening on January 18th. We don't know until when, but the answer for now is just, sometime later. Universal Pictures Home Entertainment has pulled out the release of Death Race Beyond Anarchy. The movie was originally going to be released on January 30th on Blu-ray, DVD, digital HD, and on demand, but there's no confirmation regarding a new release date. The only explanation as to why Universal took it out from the end of January was meant to be a strategic decision. The film would have also been paired up with a 4-movie collection of the Death Race franchise. The film promised to have many fan favorites return and accompanied with other actors like Terrence Maynard, Fred Kohler, Vladisław Pawlov, Christine Marzano, and Danny Trejo, and have newcomers to the Death Race like Zach McGowan and Danny Glover. The description of the film reads, after a failed attack on an inmate and legendary driver Frankenstein, Black Ops specialist Connor Gibson infiltrates a super maximum federal prison with one goal: enter the immortal and illegal Death Race and take Frankenstein down. The cop and the orc are back together stopping crime. Netflix officially greenlit a sequel to their recent feature film, Bright. Many of the cast and crew are expected to return, including the stars Will Smith and Joel Edgerton, producer Brian Unkeles and Eric Newman, and director David Ayer. The only one that's said to not come back for the sequel is writer Max Landis, which Ayer will also be taking over the writing duties like he did for Fury and End of Watch. The movie is about 2 cops, with one of them as an orc, who has to protect a magic wand from magical creatures and criminals in a Los Angeles that features more fantasy elements like elves, orcs, and fairies. It was meant to be an entire allegory on real-world race relations. Budgeted at $90 million, the film became a giant hit on the streaming service, where it is currently at number 1 in over 190 countries. Even on its first 3 days, around 11 million users in America streamed the movie. There is no confirmation date for the release of the sequel. Yeah, we got another delay, but at least we know where this one is going. Paramount has moved the release date to the 3rd Cloverfield film, God Particle, again. This is now the 3rd time that the movie moved spots from its release. The original time it was supposed to be out is around last year on February 24th, 2017. However, at the end of 2016, Paramount took it and moved it up to October 27th of that year. After the second time that it got moved, it seemed to be okay and ready to be out on February 2nd, but since as of this recording there is no piece of advertising or trailers prepared for the feature, it got delayed once more to April. The movie will be about a group of astronauts in an international space mission that made a big discovery that would require them to fight for their lives. Written by Orand Uziel and directed by Julius Ona, the movie will star David Oyelowo, Guru Mkbada Ra, Zizi Zhang, Elizabeth Debicki, Daniel Brazul, and Chris O'Donnell. God Particle will maybe come out in theaters on April 20th. I'm gonna be honest with you, I was expecting this to be like the next 2016 Ghostbusters, but with how it's performing, I'm actually quite impressed. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle has officially surpassed $200 million at the domestic box office in just 2 weeks. The reason of its success was said to be helped by some word of mouth and critics' reaction that, while not a great movie, it is still a fun feature with a highly enjoyable cast. What makes this accomplishment even more impressive, however, is that it managed to do so while Star Wars: The Last Jedi has been dominating the box office for the past 4 weeks. During the holiday season, Jumanji and The Last Jedi were the biggest draws for audiences to come to theaters at the time. According to the numbers, this would make it Dwayne Johnson's highest grossing film domestically that's not a Fast and Furious movie. A big test that will determine if this will become a global hit is when the film will hit theaters in China this Friday. In total, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle has a domestic total of $244 million and a worldwide total of $519 million. After bashing them and saying he won't make a Star Wars movie, looks like he'll be working with them after all. Ridley Scott is currently in talks with Disney in order to direct the Merlin saga. With Philippa Boyens writing the script, the movie will be based on the T.A. Barron books of the same name that shows the origins of the wizard from a boy to being the mentor of King Arthur. Scott is also in talks to be a producer along with Gil Netter. This will not be the only project Disney has in production based on the King Arthur legend. The company is also planning to make a live-action film adaptation of their 1963 animated film, The Sword in the Stone. Recently, Scott has criticized Disney for how they would pick independent directors who he seems unqualified to make big-budgeted blockbuster films like Star Wars, and that The Last Jedi was too long with its 2.5-hour runtime. I have some sad news for those who want to see more of The Rock's berry-deflecting nipples. On Twitter, Dwayne Johnson was answering questions from fans, and a young kid asked him regarding if there are any plans to make a third installment to The Journey to the Center of the Earth. Johnson responded by saying, "Unfortunately, I have no plans to make another Journey movie. My goal to make Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon became a real challenge to crack creatively." Johnson appeared in the second film for the franchise in Journey to the Mysterious Island, where he replaced Brendan Fraser's character as the star of the feature. When the sequel was released back in 2012, New Line was in talks to make a third Journey film that would have Johnson and Josh Hutcherson reprising their roles. The movie ended up being a modest hit, where it made more than $100 million domestically and $335 million worldwide. Dwayne will still have plenty of screen time this year though, as he will appear in Skyscraper, Fighting with My Family, and Rampage. And that's all I've got for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to head on down to film-book.com for all the latest movie and TV news, along with their columns on the box office and their theatrical release schedule. Also, you can follow them on whatever social media you'd like. And while you're at it, you can follow me on my YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter if you're more into stuff like animation, Disney, and my weird sense of humor. If you are watching this on YouTube, then hit that like button and come subscribe to us, and also leave a little comment on what you think on the news this week. If you were listening to this on a podcast on iTunes or any other podcast service, then don't forget to rate and review what you just heard. Tune in next time for another round of Movie News Weekly, and until next week, see you later, dudes!